This story is brought to you by tapeatale.com.
Well, the story is called The Day I Got Dumped. I mean, I knew this has been coming for a while and things weren't looking very great. They hadn't been panning out. There had been a lot of heated discussions and one of them had been really bad. Till finally, on the day of 3rd April 2009, I got laid off from my job. Yes, guys, this is the day I got dumped by my employer. I still remember, when I'd come back from that exotic on site location that the company had sent me to Saudi Arabia. The environment hadn't been all that great. I could sense something wasn't right, that anything could go down. And then Rehan called me to the office and he said, "We need to do your project performance review." And guys, it looked like one of those school reports. It was all painted in red. I'm just amazed Rehan didn't send me in the corner and just go stare into the wall or something. Because I'd received a princely score of something like 1 out of 5. And if that wasn't enough, I actually also received, there was a comment also from my project supervisor which said that when the consultant was asked, "Why didn't you prepare the slides?" he said, "I was blanking out." I just want to clarify, I didn't give that answer after 3 joints or anything like that. But now in hindsight, I'm like, okay, it was a stupid answer, but if I was going to get laid off anyway, I should have just given the honest answer. That I was struggling to make senseless PPTs taken from a hopeless Excel sheet for a useless project. And Sodexo vouchers. And Rehan looked at me and said, "Vikram, this is really not a good time to be getting such a project review. I think you need to start looking at other options." I was the sole breadwinner in my family, but I thought, actually, dad ko बुलाने की कोई ज़रूरत भी नहीं है. There's no issue there because dad was in the hospital. And so was my granddad, the only other support that we had in our life. Because this has been a pattern in our life, it's something I'm used to, that multiple disasters will happen at the same time and always been calm. But on that day, when I was leaving the office for the last time, I was calm. Outwardly, I was calm. They sent this email saying that Vikram is pursuing other options. And people came up to me and asked me and said, "Okay, what's happening?" I was calm, I was smiling outside, and I told them I'm pursuing teaching. But inside, I was struggling to keep from crying in front of their face. It's a very challenging thing to be in that kind of background. Because see what happens when you get laid off, you kind of go through the 5 stages of grief. Now the first stage is just denial. नहीं यार ये तो नहीं हो सकता यार. Of course they won't remove me. I'm such a prized employee. You go through like there's a song यार ना मिले. You go through मेरे जैसा दुनिया में कोई भी नहीं. That is your first attitude, right? But the second one is anger. ये लोग नहीं कर सकते यार मैं आग लगा दूंगा on Twitter. कंपनी का लैपटॉप वापस नहीं करूंगा. Then you realize it's Windows 10, so like ठीक है वापस कर दूंगा. लेकिन पूरा reformat करने के बाद. Then the third stage is bargaining. That's when like यार मुझे मत निकालो यार, मैं washroom block नहीं करूँगा यार, coffee machine खाली नहीं छोड़ूंगा, Sodexo voucher भी वापस कर दूंगा यार. But the fourth stage is when it starts getting a little darker. Now you go to the despair. Okay, that's when you start feeling this morass of complete despair and sadness and depression. That's when you see the second half of that song, "मैनू job ना मिले कि मर जावा." And finally you come to this fifth stage, which is acceptance. That's when you accept that now you're in this kind of trouble. Because see, getting laid off is a bit like being taken off life support and now you have to scout for oxygen on your own. I remember that when I used to eat lunch at home, I used to take the lunch into my room because I couldn't stand the humiliation of sitting at home on a weekday with my parents and eating lunch in front of them. Because I was thinking I was the one who was supposed to take care of them. I was the one who was supposed to put food and medicine on the table. That was the whole plan, that when I pass out from a Premier B school, all the past financial struggles of the past will be over. But here I was sitting with the tattered remains of a torn career. I remember think somebody spoke about neighbors as well. I knew the neighbors would also judge me. They had this question, यार ये weekday पे मतलब lift में ऐसे क्यों चल रहा है in casual clothes? And my parents were also scrambling for an explanation all the time. Yeah, he's taking a break. He's working from home. He's adopted. Because see, once you get laid off, you become a bit like a socially untouchable creature, like a Manchester City fan. But I went through this whole process, and I went through this whole process of sending my CV all over the place, meeting consultant after consultant. And finally, I'm like, this job interview went so well, till finally you didn't hear back from them. It felt a bit like an arranged marriage process. But I'll be honest, because of this whole despair, I finally ended up doing something that I'd been avoiding for quite a while, something I didn't have the time for earlier. But now the one thing that I had plenty of was time and Sodexo vouchers. So I finally went and joined this public speaking club called Toastmasters. And that's why for the very first time I got this feedback that Vikram, you can be a funny person. But this is where I finally discovered this aspect of me, something that I would have never found out if I hadn't been laid off. And this ultimately set the base for what is now a career as a stand-up comedian. That's something that actually happened because I got laid off. I also got a job in sales, which surprisingly I discovered I was actually pretty good at. And then later on, this sales job allowed me to become an investment banker, which is a completely crazy career progression that I think nobody else has really gotten into. Now, if some of you are wondering whether there is redemption at this end of the story, well, guys, 2 years after I quit my corporate career to do comedy, I went back and performed at the same company that I got laid off from. See, guys, I'm not saying that every single time you'll get a chance to get back at your detractors, or even better, you'll get a chance to make them look good and work with them. But I'll just say this much, that life always has a plan and things eventually will pan out. You don't know which direction they will take you in. Things happen. But I'll just say this much. See, of course, getting laid off was really hard. It was painful. But I don't regret it because, it allowed all of this to happen. And most important of all, that's what allowed me to come here today and talk to you guys.